Welcome back to the Even Your Dynasty show. Another week in the books, which you know what that means is another minor league update for the San Francisco Giants system. And we're going to go through kind of how their top prospects are doing. Today on this episode, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm actually going to start it off with a few of the injury rehab guys. I usually put that down at the tail end, but I get a lot of people asking about them. So we're going to go ahead and put those up at the front today. So that way we can get a little bit of the updates in. The first guy we're going to talk about is their number 4 prospect, Walker Martin. He is down in the ACL. He is playing now. And, they made it sound like he was going to be in San Jose. So I think this is more of a rehab, but it is entirely possible they're going to give him a little bit of time in the complex league because he hasn't played any professional ball since he got drafted up until this week. But he went 2 for 12 with 9 strikeouts. Obviously, limited extended spring training because he had the hamstring issue. I'd imagine, you're going to see some early timing issues, similar to what we saw with Marco Luciano last season, where he was, just striking out every other at bat basically for a month. So hopefully it doesn't take him that long, but with Walker Martin, but probably going to see a little bit of those struggles. Their number 12 prospect, Trevor McDonald. He's appeared in 2 games, 2.2 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. The first outing only went 2/3 of an inning and gave up 3 runs. The second outing, he actually looked really sharp, 2 innings, 2 shutout innings in that outing. Number 16 prospect, Wade Meckler. He has started to play a little better this week. He has been rehabbing. He had the injury where he got hit by a pitch right at the very end of spring training. He has not appeared in AAA at all this season, but that's where he will end up once he's done with his rehab. 6 for 20 with 2 doubles, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and 3 stolen bases this week. Number 5 prospect, there was an update on Rainer Arias. Unfortunately, the wrist injury, they initially reported that it was a sprain, a sprain of the same wrist he hurt last season. It's actually a fractured wrist. So I don't remember the exact date this happened. They said it happened in extended spring training, which was like a month or so ago. So, fractures, you're talking about 6 to 8 week injuries. Typically, it could be a 4 to 6 week injury, depending on the fracture. I would not count on him for at least a couple more weeks, though I have noticed that he's been listed in the ACL games. He's been listed under the bench player, so maybe he's closer than we think. So, but that's the update that came out. Andrew Baggerly dropped that in one of his mailbags in the last week or so. All right, so now moving on to the actual full season affiliates. We'll start off with the Sacramento River Cats, who went 4-2 in El Paso this week. They're now 30-21 on the season. Pretty crazy. Half their team is up in San Francisco right now, and they're still winning games. They're still playing really well and some solid ball. But starting off with Carson Whisenhunt, their number 2 prospect, who made 2 starts this week. First start, he went 4.2 innings pitched, gave up 4 earned runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Through 84 pitches, 60 for strikes. So he is throwing more strikes. That is a good development there. His control's been a little bit better. Second start, he went 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 5 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts through 81 pitches, 84 for strikes. You're seeing this a lot with the Giants. They're limiting these guys into like they'll top out at about 85 pitches with any of their starters. And then they'll go to the majors and they'll set career highs on pitches in games. And, they're asking Farhan Zaidi about it, and he seems to support it and think that, it's saving their arms. But I don't agree with it entirely. I think they should be pushing these guys a little bit further than they do, even if that is only going up to, 90 to 100 pitches. I mean, these guys, if you're going to start asking them to do that in the majors, you're setting them up for failure when you don't get their arms stretched out. So we'll see as they get later in the season if they do, stretch them out a little farther. But I just haven't seen it in the past couple of years until they get to the majors. So number 8 prospect, Reggie Crawford, came in to 2 games this week, 3 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, only allowed 1 hit, 2 walks, and I believe he hit hit batsman in that somewhere, and then 5 strikeouts. Only threw 19 pitches the first outing. The second outing, he went 2 innings, threw 32 pitches. 19 of those were for strikes in that one, 13 for strikes in the first. So good week for him. came in, threw strikes, looked sharp. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility to see him in the majors this season at some point, especially if he can throw strikes. Because if he can throw strikes, and I would actually add to that, especially if he can throw strikes with his off speed. He's actually pretty solid throwing strikes with his fastball. He does miss it kind of high on the arm side periodically, but his off speed he hasn't had great command of. And if he can get some command of his changeup slider, then you're looking at a guy that could pitch in the majors right now and be probably really good. I mean, I talked about it in yesterday's video about how the Giants bullpen right now, the late inning guys that have been reliable so far are basically Doval, Walker, and Rodriguez. I mean, the Rogers twins haven't been reliable. Miller hasn't been super reliable. Jackson definitely hasn't been reliable. Sean Jelly shows chinks in the armor a bit too often for my taste to be back there, but I do think he's earned the right to get some of those leverage opportunities. But you know, if you get a guy like Reggie Crawford, a power left-handed arm, that could be valuable on that, you know, in the back end of the pen. Granted, I don't know if his control is going to be there yet to where he would warrant those opportunities, but I think he's on that trajectory right now. Number 11 prospect, Landon Roop. He got put on the 7-day IL with an undisclosed injury. As I say every week, it seems like it's usually undisclosed injuries until some nugget gets dropped in a Baggerly article or something like that. Unfortunately, minor league updates or minor leagues are really bad about updating like what injuries players have. Number 17 prospect, Carson Seymour, 4 innings pitched, 7 earned runs, 8 hits, and 4 walks, and 0 strikeouts. He got lit up, but El Paso is a tough environment to pitch in, as is much of the PCL, but he did not have a good week this week. Number 22 prospect, Kaiwei Tang, continues to, you know, get knocked around every time he's out there. I don't think he has a single outing yet this season where he has not given up multiple runs, not even given up 1 run or no runs. Like, he's given up multiple runs in every appearance he's had, both in the minors and in the majors this season. But 2 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 4 hits, 4 walks, 1 strikeout. He's not getting the swing and miss he's gotten in the past. And it's been a lot of struggles for him. And unfortunately for him, he is a big giant DFA candidate at this point. I don't really care what his, you know, prospect status was coming into the year. He's on the 40 man. He's taking up a spot and he's given up like 30 earned runs this season. I mean, he's getting just lit up right now. It might even be closer to 40. I would have to look at the numbers, but it's been ugly for him. So tough to see. You know, he was a guy I had some hopes for, that he could be like a bulk guy similar to what Jacob Junis did, and it just hasn't materialized for him. But now we're going to get some good. These are the guys that are down in the minors that we, you know, feel could possibly contribute this season at some point. Starting with Tyler Fitzgerald, who was easily the player of the week for probably all of the minor leagues, all teams, who got sent down from San Francisco and sent a very clear message back to the Giants that I don't belong down here. And that was, he went 11 for 25 with 6 home runs, 2 doubles, 5 walks, 8 strikeouts, and a stolen base. I could probably just make this entire video just a Tyler Fitzgerald highlight reel from just this week. That's the kind of week he had. So good for Tyler Fitzgerald. You know, I don't know if I could talk long enough in this segment to have all of his highlights. You know, I like to put them over while I'm talking about the players, and this might bleed into some of the other guys. Casey Schmidt also had a big week, so we're going to just have the highlights rolling for a while. 10 for 28 with 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts, and a stolen base. The 3 walks, honestly, of that entire list, the 3 walks were probably the most encouraging. His walk rate is going up. You know, he's a guy that I think when he got up to San Francisco, he was clearly pressing. He was, you know, I had watched him in Sacramento all year. He was making a concerted effort to not chase nearly as much. And the bat qualities were higher. He was at least making guys come into the zone. I mean, doesn't mean he was drawing a ton of walks because he clearly isn't, but he was at least making guys come into the zone. And then as soon as he got to San Francisco, he just swung at everything. And I do think it was a little bit of a he was pressing because he felt like he had to hit the second he got there. Otherwise, he'd go right back down. And you know what? He didn't hit and then he went right back down. But I think part of that had to do with the poor at bat qualities that he was putting together. And it is what it is. I mean, he frankly did not hit well enough to stay up. And when you have Luciano and Brett Wisely, who's also playing very well in the majors, like, you're not going to stay up. And now Fitzgerald's probably going to get a call before Schmidt. So he needs to just continue to work on his approach, and hopefully he gets another opportunity, whether it's next season, down the road, later this season. You just never know with injuries what might come up for him. Hunter Bishop, 5 for 22, 5 for 22 with a triple, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. He's cooled off a little bit. Obviously, he was scorching hot when he first got down to Sacramento, but he's still, playing pretty well down there and showing he, belongs at that level at this point. Yes, he got called up to AAA kind of more out of necessity than like having really pushed a promotion, but he's played well enough since he's been there that they're not going to send him back down to AA. He'll stay up there. Juan Sanchez played in 2 games, 5 innings pitched, an earned run, 3 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. He's kind of a pitch to contact guy. His control has been lacking over the last 3 weeks or so. He's really been struggling. I mean, this was a guy that started off the season red hot, and it's kind of trended the wrong way since then. But a very good week from him. Hopefully he's riding the ship, because I do think he could be a quality bullpen arm for the Giants, whether it's this, later this season, next season. I do think he's a guy that could come up and, might not be a late inning, probably not a late inning guy. I'm not big on pitch to contact guys in the late innings. You guys have all seen what I've said about Tyler Rogers yesterday. I don't believe in that. I believe if you're a pitch to contact guy, you need to be earlier in the game. But he could be a quality, 6th, 7th inning guy, or even a, kind of a longer reliever. I mean, he's through 3 innings in one of his outings, the one that he pitched in 2 days ago. So we'll see kind of how he ends up developing. Moving over to Richmond, who backed up. They've had 2 straight really good weeks. They went 5-1 at Bowie. They're now 22-23 on the season. The offense finally woke up. It took, a month and a half or 2 months almost, and their offense has finally awakened, and they are finally scoring some runs. I mean, they might have had one of the worst offenses in the minor leagues for about a month and a half, and they're finally performing, which is good because they have good prospects in AA. The guys just aren't hitting, and some of that is starting to change, especially with a guy like Grant McCray, which we'll get to in a moment. But it's a good sign to see, because they were a tough watch for a while. But starting with their number 6 prospect, Hayden Birdsong, 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 3 hits, a walk, 7 strikeouts. He gave up a home run in that game. That was the big hit on him. But still solid outing. Sit through 79 pitches, 51 for strikes. I don't know how much longer they're going to make him do this before they finally promote him to AAA, but it does feel like that is inevitable within the next month or so, hopefully. Now, getting to the guy that would be the player of the week for the Giants if Tyler Fitzgerald wasn't around, but he actually did win the Eastern League Player of the Week honors, was their number 13 prospect, Grant McCray, who went 11 for 20 with a home run, 2 triples, 3 doubles, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a stolen base. Now, he still only has 6 stolen bases this season, which is incredible to me considering he had 52 last season. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. I don't know if he's dealing with a lower body injury or something. He looks fine moving around. He made a couple great catches in center field, including kind of an awkward sliding catch coming in on a ball. So it doesn't look like he's not moving well out there. He's not stealing bags, and couldn't tell you why that is, because his speed still looks great, but he's got a ton of extra base hits this season. In the month of May, he is absolutely scorching hot. He did this last season as well in Eugene, where he got off to just an abysmal start, and then the calendar flipped to May and he got it going, and he started playing really well, and he kind of recovered his average and his numbers a bit. But in the month of May, he's hitting 310 with a 1050 OPS. His season numbers, he's drug his batting average all the way up to 223, and he has a 793 OPS. And if you go off WRC plus, he's got a 124 WRC plus, which means he's 24% better than the league average in AA. So, good for Grant McCray, because the start he had was just very concerning. The strikeout rate's still up. It's at 29.3% right now, which is still way too high for him. But the numbers are getting there. He's got a ton of extra base hits this season. I believe he has 19 on the year already. His walk rate is about 13.5%, which with his speed, if you're not going to hit for a great average, if you can at least walk 10 to 15% of the time, somewhere in that range, you're still getting on base, and your speed, you can take advantage of that. And you can live with some swing and miss if he's doing that. But, like I said, we want to see more of the steals. So number 15 prospect, Vaughn Brown, 4 for 15, a home run, 7 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. He's still struggling, still strikes out way too much. His strikeout rate this season was like 48%. He needs to put the bat on the ball, like plain and simple. That's kind of what it is with him, but good to see him knock one out of the yard. Number 19 prospect, Victor Barracoto, 5 for 17, 2 home runs, a double, 5 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Finally looks like he's coming out of his funk a little bit. We'll see if he can sustain this for at least, a few weeks, because he's a guy that he was hitting the ball really hard last season. He led their minor leagues with 27 home runs between high A and double A. So he's an exciting, offensive prospect. But this season he's done a lot of swinging and missing, and he hasn't really shown the power much. So good to see him have a good week, though. Number 23 prospect, Adrian Sugaste, 3 for 18, a double, a walk, 3 strikeouts. He's hitting 215 on the season. He's a weak bat, more of a defensive prospect for the catcher position. Does have the potential, if he can at least hit enough, that he could be a solid backup down the line to Patrick Bailey. Number 26 prospect, Jairo Pomares, 5 for 21, 2 doubles, and 9 strikeouts. He was a guy that didn't play until about a week and a half ago. Or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. And, he's taken some time to get his timing back. So nothing really shocking there. It's good to see he's starting to get going a little bit. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we start seeing him really show some development there. Number 30 prospect, Carson Ragsdale, 4.2 innings, 6 earned runs, 2 hits, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, hit a batter. He gave up 7 runs, 6 were earned. He had a bad inning that snowballed on him and gave up a big home run. And that's how you give up 6 earned runs when you've only given up 2 hits and 4 walks. Moving on to Eugene. They went 3-3 versus Spokane. They're now 24-20 on the season. Number 18 prospect, Diego Velasquez, 5 for 16, 2 doubles, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. He's continued to play really well. He's hitting like 288 now on the season. Hopefully he can just keep that up. And, he's a guy that might get the call up to Richmond at some point this season. And he's young. He's only 20 years old. So very solid middle infield prospect for the Giants. Probably future is at second base, if I had to guess. Doesn't have a great arm, but I could see him being a guy that could just be a really solid hitter at the major league level eventually down the road. Number 24 prospect, O'Neill Perez, took a very uncharacteristic 0 for 13 this week. 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a stolen base. So it was a tough week for him. He's a guy that's a really solid hitter, but it was not his week. So it happens. Quinn McDaniel, 5 for 21, 2 doubles, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. He's a guy I felt like they could have promoted a few weeks ago. And since then, obviously they know what they're doing, because he didn't, he's kind of fallen off a little bit. The strikeouts remain an issue for him. It probably needs to clean that up a little bit. And I'd imagine that's what's holding him back right now, is just the overall swing and miss in his game. So, but he does have some nice tools. He does hit the ball hard a lot. He drives the ball both, all fields. So he has some nice potential, and he's only 22 years old. And then you have Seth Corey, who seems like he's been in Eugene for about 4 years now. He's been around for a long time, former top 100 prospect, but I wanted to give him a shout out because he's pitched in 11 games now this season, thrown 22 and 2/3 innings, has a 1.99 ERA and a 0.97 whip, has 28 strikeouts. He's 25 years old. I don't know why they still have him in Eugene. They're kind of reinventing him as a reliever. Get him up to at least AA because, I mean, he's 25 years old. Let's see what he can do against better competition and, see if he can continue showing what he's showing now because he has good swing and miss stuff, but his command has always been a massive issue, and that's why he didn't stick as a starter. But we'll see if he can, develop as a reliever now. Moving over to San Jose, number 3 prospect, Bryce Eldridge, 8 for 24, 2 doubles, a walk, 8 strikeouts, and a stolen base. Did not play in Sunday's game, or I should say yesterday's game. We'll see if they are looking to promote him soon. I mean, he's playing really well, especially over about the last 3 weeks. He's been playing exceptionally well. Hitting the ball hard, does have a little bit of swing and miss, but you look at his strikeout percentage on the season, it's at 25%, which I've always said with guys like him and Marco Luciano and Elliot Ramos, they have so much power that if you can get them only striking out about 25% of the time, you're going to feel pretty good about it going forward. So I like where he's at. I hope they get him. I hope they're aggressive with him. He's 19 years old. He'll turn 20 in October. He's a guy that I could see reaching the major leagues after just 2 years in the minors. That's my opinion of him. But they're going to have to be a little more aggressive with him than they are and see where he kind of runs into the wall. But I could see them being a little more. I could also see them being a little more cautious with him this season. I do think if he just keeps blistering the ball in San Jose, they will at least move him to Eugene. I've always felt like he could possibly make it to Richmond this season, but I could see them being a little more cautious and just trying to give him a full season in pro ball, get his feet wet, get used to everything, get used to the travel a little bit. Maybe they at least get him up to Eugene where they're traveling a little further. And then, next season being like really aggressive with them, kind of like what you saw with Luis Matos, who played a year in San Jose, a year in Eugene, and then all of a sudden he was in Richmond and he was in San Francisco by June last season. So, time will tell regarding Bryce Eldridge, but he's been continuing to play very solid ball. Number 10 prospect, Joe Whitman, has kind of continued his roller coaster of a season. This time it was on a high. 5 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts through 66 pitches, 37 for strikes. He's been kind of up and down all season. He's got about 3.93 ERA right now. He is playing pretty well as a whole. I do think he gets promoted at some point. He is a bit older. He's a college draft pick from last season, their 3rd round pick. I do anticipate he'll end up at least getting promoted to Eugene at some point this season. Number 25 prospect, Cole Foster, did not play this week, undisclosed injury. Similar situation to what we saw with Roop. It just nothing's come out. If anybody hears anything or has heard anything and knows, please drop it in the comments for everybody, because I did not find anything regarding that, but I did know he did not play this week. Number 28 prospect, Jonah Cox. This guy needs to get promoted. I mean, this is as much of a sure thing as needing to be promoted as anybody in this system. He's 22 years old. He went 8 for 22, 3 triple, a double, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. He's hitting 350 on the season with like 26 stolen bases. He's not a big power guy, but he is riding a 15-game hitting streak. I mean, the guy rakes. He draws a lot of walks, and he steals a ton of bags. I mean, he's a guy that I would have hope for, kind of similar to with like Meckler, where I have hope that they can turn into like really good reserve outfielders. I'm not sure they're ever going to have the pop necessary, because they're not center fielders, in my opinion. And I don't know if they'll have like the pop they need to really stick as a starter in the corners, but he could be a 4th or 5th outfielder that potentially down the road that could still see a lot of playing time. And the guy can hit and he can steal bags, which is really nice to see, especially with what we've watched as Giants fans for a long time. Number 29 prospect, Josh Bostic, 4 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 4 hits, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. So that's all I have for the minor leagues for this week. As always, if you guys do like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're up to almost 500 subscribers. I said we were going to do the live shows when we hit 500. We're going to do it on Thursday. Dan and I are going to do that one. Probably it'll start sometime between 2 and 2:30 probably. And as always, catch me on Wednesday night for on NorCal Sports Network. I'll be doing their post game show with them for the Giants Phillies game. And that's all I have for today. Appreciate the support, everyone. Go Giants. Hopefully Blake Snell has a good outing today. Mind you, I'm recording this before the game, and the video will probably get posted after the game, so we'll all know how it went by the time you see this anyway. But go Giants, and have a good one, everyone. Hope you all have a great holiday and happy Memorial Day.